Emily Carter, a 12-year-old girl with soft brown hair and a shy demeanor, stood before the mirror in her family's modest suburban home. Her trembling fingers traced the edge of her black eye patch, a constant reminder of the medical condition that had plagued her since birth. The cruel whispers and stares she endured at her previous schools echoed in her mind, making her heart race as she prepared for yet another first day at a new school. Downstairs, her mother, Sarah Carter, was busying herself in the kitchen, trying to mask her worry with a forced smile. Sarah was a pillar of strength for the family, but today, her heart ached for her daughter. At the dining table, James Carter, Emily's father, sat quietly, sipping his coffee with furrowed brows. He was a practical, steady man who always tried to keep the family afloat, but even he couldn't hide his concern. As Emily descended the stairs, the tension in the air was palpable. "I don't want to go to school," she murmured, clutching the straps of her backpack. "Can't I just stay home and study here?" Sarah approached her daughter, kneeling down to her level. "Emily, I know you're scared," she said softly. "But this is a new beginning. You've faced challenges before, and you've overcome them. You can do it again." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she glanced at her father for support. "But they're just going to laugh at me again," she whispered. "They always do. I'm just the weird girl with the eye patch." James stood and placed a firm hand on Emily's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said gently. "People might not always understand, but that doesn't define who you are. What matters is how you carry yourself. And no matter what happens, your mom and I are right here for you." The drive to school was quiet, except for the soft hum of the radio. Emily sat in the back seat, her fingers fidgeting nervously with the hem of her jacket. She kept touching her eye patch as if to confirm its presence, her anxiety growing with every passing mile. "Emily," Sarah said, breaking the silence. "Your eye patch doesn't make you any less than anyone else. It's part of you, but it's not all of you." Emily didn't respond. Instead, she stared out the window, remembering her friends back in Thailand, where her family had lived for most of her childhood. "I miss Thailand," she murmured. "Nobody cared about my eye patch there. I felt normal." James glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "Sweetheart, I know you miss it," he said, his voice steady. "But we had to move back. Things are different here, but that doesn't mean they can't get better. Give it a chance." Emily sighed, her shoulders slumping as the school came into view. The sight of the bustling entrance filled her with dread. When the car stopped, Sarah turned around in her seat, her face full of encouragement. "Emily, look at me," she said. "Your dad and I will be right here in the parking lot all day. If anything happens, you can call us. We've got you." Emily nodded hesitantly, her resolve slightly strengthened by her mother's words. "You're braver than you think," James added with a smile. Taking a deep breath, Emily opened the car door and stepped out. The crisp morning air filled her lungs as she adjusted her backpack and slowly walked toward the school entrance. Her parents watched her go, both silently hoping that this time would be different. The day unfolded like a nightmare. During introductions in her homeroom class, the teacher, Mrs. Helen Adams, glanced at Emily with an awkward smile. "Well," she said with a chuckle, "it looks like we have a little pirate in our class." The room erupted in laughter, and Emily's face burned with humiliation. She tried to laugh along, but her heart sank. Lunch was no better. Emily sat alone in the cafeteria, her homemade lunch untouched as she watched groups of students laughing and talking. Occasionally, someone would glance her way and whisper, and although she couldn't hear their words, she knew what they were about. When Emily returned home that afternoon, she was a shadow of her usual self. She avoided her parents' questions and retreated to her room, where she curled up on her bed, letting silent tears soak her pillow. Sarah stood outside the door, hesitating before softly knocking. "Emily," she called. "Can I come in?" After a moment of silence, Sarah entered to find her daughter lying on her bed, her face buried in her arms. "I don't want to go back," Emily said, her voice muffled by the pillow. "They don't understand me. They never will." Sarah sat down beside her and gently stroked her hair. "Emily, I know today was hard," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But you're not alone. Your dad and I are here, and we're going to figure this out together." Later that evening, Sarah and James sat in the living room, discussing what to do. "She can't keep going through this," Sarah said, her voice tight with frustration. "We need to do something." James nodded, his jaw set. "I'll speak with the principal first thing tomorrow," he said. But Sarah had another idea. She opened her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she typed a heartfelt post about Emily's struggles. She shared the story of her daughter's courage and the cruelty she had faced, hoping it might reach someone who could help. By the next morning, Sarah's post had gone viral, attracting thousands of likes, comments, and shares. What stunned the Carter family most was a comment from none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. "If anyone messes with Emily, they'll have to answer to me first." Sarah gasped as she read the words aloud. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were tears of hope. "James," she said, her voice breaking. "We're not alone anymore." The Carter household buzzed with anticipation that afternoon. Emily stayed close to the window, peeking through the curtains every few minutes. "Do you really think he'll come?" she asked Sarah, her voice tinged with both hope and doubt. Sarah knelt beside her, brushing a stray lock of hair from Emily's face. "I think he will, sweetheart," she said. "And if he doesn't, we'll still figure this out together." The doorbell rang, breaking the quiet tension. Sarah and James exchanged stunned looks before Sarah hurried to the door. She hesitated for a moment before opening it, and there he was, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, larger than life, with a warm smile and kind eyes. "Good evening," he said, his deep voice filling the doorway. "I'm here to see Emily." Over dinner, Dwayne listened intently as Emily described her experiences at school. His calm, steady demeanor made it easy for her to open up. "You know," Dwayne said, leaning forward slightly, "when I was a kid, I didn't fit in either. I was big, different, and a lot of people didn't understand me. But here's the thing, being different isn't a weakness, it's a strength." Emily looked at him with wide eyes. "Really?" she asked softly. "Absolutely," Dwayne said firmly. "Your eye patch doesn't make you less than anyone else. In fact, it makes you unique, and that's something to be proud of." Before leaving, Dwayne knelt to Emily's level and held her gaze. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'm coming to school with you. We're going to show everyone just how amazing you are." Emily's eyes lit up with hope for the first time in weeks. "You're really coming?" she asked. "Count on it," Dwayne replied with a wink. As the Carter family watched him drive away, they couldn't help but feel that something monumental was about to happen. 4-0